Professor Van Pessel, you have been with us for the last few days and you have seen the impact of climate on a country like Bangladesh. What do you think about their courage, their resilience, the way they work? And finally, what do you think about the work that Friendship is trying to do here?
Well, the first thing I'd like to say is that it's really touched my heart. I mean, meeting those people, meeting those young people, those older people, the men, the women, the fishermen, the women maintaining the mangroves. I mean, it was really touching. Also hearing the stories about where they have to go on the roof of their tiny houses when there's a cyclone, some dying because the roof falls apart, and now that you have, with the work that Friendship is doing, climate resilient houses and also mangroves to protect the embankments when the tides are becoming too strong, and much less damage as a result of those operations. So it's really encouraging. I mean, it's really giving me hope, renewing my hope that things can be done about climate change, because that's the issue, you know. We can do so much about climate change, both in developed countries in reducing emissions that are causing climate change, and both in developing countries and developed countries in building resilient infrastructure, in managing ecosystems much better so they can help us to be more resilient in front of all the extreme events. So it gives me a lot of hope and courage to continue the IPCC work I'd like to do.
You have been a kind of one of the scientific strengths behind IPCC and their work over the last 20-30 years. Where are you? How do you see yourself and your role in the IPCC in the coming years?
Well, what I'm hoping is to be able to lead the IPCC to new heights, you know, and while doing that and while being the global voice both of North and South of climate in front of all policy and decision makers, I also want to be connected to the reality, the reality of people experiencing the worst effect of climate change. And that's why I came here. It's very important that even if I reach the top of the IPCC, I stay connected with my feet on the ground, with my heart with the people, so that, you know, I don't lose track of what's important.
In a country like Bangladesh, there is a complexities, you know, of the problem of climate and complexities in the solutions to those problems. How do you think that as a climate scientist, you can kind of show this, impact this, and bring awareness, you know, with the IPCC and the reports of IPCC on such complexities?
Well, you know, I'm a teacher, I'm a professor, so I've explained things to students, to ministers, to heads of states sometimes for 40 years. So I can explain complex things in simple words, with simple words. And I think it needs to be done, because even though the problem is indeed complex, and some of the solutions are complex, there are many simple things that can be done, especially when the ideas of the people living where they are living are taken into consideration. And this is what Friendship is doing, by the way. And this is one of the reasons you are so successful, because you are bringing the local communities, the indigenous communities in the process, and you empower them, and you listen to their knowledge, and you use their knowledge with them. And this is what makes the elements of solutions that you are bringing together so efficient. And I'd like the IPCC to be as useful to the policymakers of the world as the work of Friendship is useful to the people around here.
How are you preparing to be elected chair of the IPCC?
Well, I'm trying to meet as many officials and representatives of the civil society in as many countries of the world as possible. I'm also trying to meet stakeholders to understand all those persons see the future of IPCC, what are their needs, so the IPCC can be the best provider of quality information for decision making. And for that, it's very important to be in connection with the reality, in connection with people of all kinds, including indigenous communities, including young people, including stakeholders, and that's what I'm doing here. And this is why I'm in Chamnoga, to see the reality that people are experiencing when there are climate extremes, and to see also the wonderful work that Friendship has been doing in the communities here, with the communities. And I hope that under my leadership, the IPCC would be as useful to the world as what Friendship is doing to be useful to the communities in Bangladesh.
Thank you. Thank you very much. For the last 20 years, Friendship has been working with the most unaddressed, most isolated communities of the country. And we did not even realize that we selected the areas because of the need of the people. We did not even realize that today, after 20 years, 100% of the core work that we are doing are all with those impacted by the climate crisis in the world today. And it ranges not in a single intervention, but multiplicity of intervention, because it is like a life growing. You need health, you need education, you need empowerment, you need hope, you need to imbue dignity in the people, you need poverty alleviation, and then they can find a platform and not a quicksand, on which they start and restart their life. So each person, in Bangladesh who are impacted by climate in these regions have migrated, 5 times, 10 times, 40 times, 60 times in their lifetime. And every time they migrate, they lose everything and restart. And this work is something which we have scaled. We have taken it to different areas under different situations. Each community is different, but the needs of the people remain the same. And it can be used all over the world. And there are many adaptation solutions, not only with Friendship, but so many organizations in the world, all around the world. And instead of going through this pilotitis because one gets money and just do a pilot, is there a way perhaps that the scientists and IPCC could work together, perhaps to bring real solutions for today, keeping in perspective the coming tomorrow, what is going to happen with the climate changes? Do you think there's a perspective for working in a more broader scale and scope of successful solutions?
What's very clear is that the IPCC needs to be very useful, very relevant, and to do that in the best manner and to provide all decision makers at all levels in society, including citizens, the best information. They need to get the best information about, as you said, first the needs of the people, but also the needs of government, the needs of the civil society, the needs of the youth, the needs of the business community as well. And starting from that, looking and using what's best in the IPCC process, working with the scientific literature, but also the broader sources of information, including indigenous knowledge, which is very important because the people understanding what's needed for adaptation to extreme events are often those who have experienced those extreme events themselves from the closest perspective. And a lot of that knowledge needs to be tapped much better by the IPCC in the future, so it can be, that knowledge can be shared and used in other parts of the world. That's my dream for IPCC, is to have the IPCC even more useful than what it is today.
Thank you.